Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Bob Dylan. The voice of a generation. Bob Dylan, born Robert Allen Zimmerman on May 24, 1941, in Duluth, Minnesota, is one of the most influential figures in the history of popular music. Over a career spanning more than 6 decades, Dylan's poetic lyrics, distinctive voice, and fearless creativity have made him a symbol of artistic freedom and social change. Early life and musical beginnings. Growing up in Hibbing, Minnesota, Dylan was captivated by the sounds of blues, country, and early rock and roll. He idolized artists like Woody Guthrie, whose folk songs about the working class deeply inspired him. In 1961, Dylan moved to New York City, immersing himself in the vibrant folk music scene of Greenwich Village. His raw performances and evocative songwriting quickly caught the attention of Columbia Records, which signed him later that year. The rise of a folk icon. Dylan's early albums, such as The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, 1963, and The Times They Are a Chongin, 1964, cemented his reputation as the voice of a generation. Songs like Blowin' in the Wind and A Hard Rain's a Gonna Fall became anthems of the civil rights and anti-war movements. His lyrics, rich with imagery and moral urgency, captured the hopes and frustrations of the 1960s youth. Electric Revolution and Reinvention. In 1965, Dylan shocked audiences when he went electric at the Newport Folk Festival. His album Highway 61, Revisited, 1965, featured rock-infused songs like a Rolling Stone, a groundbreaking hit that redefined popular music. Despite initial backlash from folk purists, Dylan's fusion of rock and poetry opened new artistic possibilities for musicians worldwide. Throughout the late 1960s and 1970s, Dylan continued to reinvent himself with albums like Blonde on Blonde, 1966, Blood on the Tracks, 1975, and Desire, 1976. His work evolved from protest songs to deeply personal reflections on love, loss, and spirituality. Later career and legacy. Dylan's career is marked by constant evolution. From his gospel phase in the late 1970s to his exploration of American roots music in albums like Time Out of Mind, 1997, and Rough and Rowdy Ways, 2020, he has remained artistically restless. His gravelly voice and poetic mastery have only deepened with age. In 2016, Dylan was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for having created new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition. The honor recognized his lifelong contribution to both music and literature, a rare distinction for a musician. Influence and cultural impact. Bob Dylan's influence extends far beyond music. His songs have been covered by countless artists, and his lyrics have been studied as modern poetry. He challenged conventions of songwriting, turning pop music into a vehicle for complex ideas and emotional depth. From the streets of Greenwich Village to the Nobel stage, Dylan's journey reflects the power of art to inspire change and provoke thought. His legacy continues to resonate with new generations who see in his words a timeless reflection of humanity's struggles and dreams. A poet with a guitar. What made Bob Dylan stand apart from his contemporaries was his ability to transform simple folk tunes into profound works of art. He drew inspiration from literature, politics, and personal experience, weaving them into lyrics that read like poetry. Songs such as Mr. Tambourine Man, Desolation Row, and Visions of Johanna are rich tapestries of surreal imagery and complex emotion. Dylan's words carried a power that resonated with intellectuals and everyday listeners alike, marking him as a bridge between high art and popular culture. His songwriting style also evolved with time. Early in his career, Dylan wrote topical songs that addressed civil rights, injustice, and war. But by the mid-1960s, his focus shifted inward. His lyrics became more abstract, dreamlike, and introspective, reflecting the shifting mood of a generation searching for meaning in a rapidly changing world. Controversy and transformation. Dylan's decision to go electric in 1965 caused an uproar among folk purists who saw it as a betrayal. At the Newport Folk Festival, he was famously booed for plugging in an electric guitar. But history would prove this to be one of the most pivotal moments in rock music. His fusion of poetic lyrics with electric sound reshaped the boundaries of the genre, influencing artists like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Bruce Springsteen. Through all the backlash, Dylan remained unconcerned. He rarely explained his artistic choices, preferring to let his music speak for itself. This mystique only deepened his appeal. He became an enigmatic figure, a restless artist always moving forward, never confined by labels or expectations. The 1970s and personal reflections. The 1970s marked a deeply personal phase in Dylan's career. His 1975 album Blood on the Tracks is often hailed as one of his greatest achievements. Widely believed to reflect the pain of his failing marriage, the album showcases Dylan at his most vulnerable and human. With songs like Tangled Up in Blue and Simple Twist of Fate, he redefined how emotion could be conveyed through song. He also explored religious and spiritual themes. After a much-publicized conversion to Christianity in the late 1970s, Dylan released Slow Train Coming, 1979, a Grammy-winning gospel rock album. While controversial among fans, it revealed another side of his ever-evolving artistry, one rooted in faith and redemption. Enduring through the decades even as trends changed, Dylan remained a creative force. The 1980s and 1990s saw a resurgence in his work, with critically acclaimed albums such as Oh Mercy, 1989, and Time Out of Mind, 1997. The latter earning him multiple Grammy Awards including Album of the Year. His voice grew rougher with age, yet his songwriting continued to shine with wisdom and reflection. In the 21st century, Dylan continued to perform tirelessly, embarking on what fans call the never-ending tour. He released several acclaimed albums exploring American folk, blues, and jazz traditions: Love and Theft, 2001, Modern Times, 2006, and Rough and Rowdy Ways, 2020. Each record demonstrated that his creative spark remained undimmed. A Nobel laureate and living legend. When Dylan won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2016, it marked an unprecedented recognition of song as a literary form. The Swedish Academy honored him for creating new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition. Although Dylan initially hesitated to accept the award, he later delivered a powerful speech reflecting on his influences, from Shakespeare to Buddy Holly. This moment cemented his legacy not just as a musician, but as a cultural philosopher, a writer whose lyrics have become part of the modern literary canon. Legacy and influence. Few artists have had as profound an impact on modern music and culture as Bob Dylan. His work influenced countless performers across genres, from rock legends like the Beatles and David Bowie to contemporary artists such as Adele and Ed Sheeran. Dylan's approach to songwriting, raw, personal, and poetic, set a new standard for authenticity in music. He also changed the way people perceive what a song could be. No longer just entertainment, his songs became art, vehicles for protest, introspection, and transformation. Dylan's career has been a masterclass in reinvention, proving that true artistry has no boundaries or expiration date. Conclusion. Bob Dylan remains a living embodiment of artistic courage. He has defied convention, embraced change, and continued to challenge audiences for over 60 years. His music tells the story of America, its hopes, its struggles, and its spirit, while his words transcend borders and generations. From the folk clubs of Greenwich Village to the grand stage of the Nobel Prize, Dylan's journey is one of relentless creativity and timeless influence. More than a singer or songwriter, Bob Dylan is, and will always be, the poet laureate of modern music. Awards and recognition over the decades. Bob Dylan has been honored with nearly every major accolade imaginable in music and the arts. Beyond the 2016 Nobel Prize in Literature, he has earned 10 Grammy Awards, a Golden Globe, and an Academy Award for Things Have Changed 2000 from the film Wonder Boys. In 1988, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, cementing his place among the greatest figures in modern music history. In 2008, the Pulitzer Prize Board awarded Dylan a special citation for his profound impact on popular music and American culture. He also received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012 from President Barack Obama, who described Dylan as one of America's greatest cultural treasures. These honors reflect not only Dylan's immense contribution to music, but also his influence on the broader fabric of society, as a voice of truth, rebellion, and introspection. Influence on other artists. Bob Dylan's reach extends far beyond his own recordings. He inspired generations of artists to view songwriting as a form of self-expression and social commentary. Musicians such as the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Bruce Springsteen, Neil Young, Patti Smith, and Johnny Cash all drew inspiration from Dylan's fearless creativity. The Beatles, for instance, credited Dylan with encouraging them to write more introspective and poetic lyrics. Hendrix transformed Dylan's All Along the Watchtower into one of rock's most powerful interpretations. Bruce Springsteen often referred to Dylan as his guiding light, saying that his songs freed your mind the way Elvis freed your body. Even decades later, contemporary artists, from Beck and Jack White to Lana Del Rey, have cited Dylan's influence on their work. His approach to music showed that the boundaries between poetry and pop, intellect and emotion, could be beautifully blurred. Film and visual art. Dylan's creativity has never been confined to music alone. He has also made notable contributions to film and visual art. In 1973, he starred in Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, contributing the classic song Knockin' on Heaven's Door. In 1978, he wrote and directed the surreal film Ronaldo and Clara, blending concert footage, fiction, and personal reflection. In later years, Dylan became increasingly active as a visual artist. His paintings and iron sculptures have been exhibited in major galleries around the world, showcasing yet another side of his restless imagination. His visual art, much like his songs, captures a deep sense of Americana, rugged, mysterious, and poetic. The never-ending tour. Since 1988, Dylan has performed almost continuously in what fans affectionately call the never-ending tour. With thousands of concerts across continents, he has reinterpreted his songs night after night, often changing arrangements and lyrics. Each performance feels like a living reinvention of his work, unpredictable, intimate, and deeply authentic. Even in his 80s, Dylan continues to tour, demonstrating an undying passion for music and storytelling. His live shows remain a pilgrimage for fans who come not just to hear the hits, but to witness an artist who refuses to stand still. Cultural and literary significance. Bob Dylan's body of work has become an essential part of the American cultural and literary canon. Scholars study his lyrics with the same reverence reserved for poets like T.S. Eliot and Walt Whitman. Universities around the world teach courses dedicated to his poetry, symbolism, and cultural influence. Dylan's writing captures the essence of 20th-century America, its turbulence, idealism, and contradictions. His songs reflect both the personal and the political, the sacred and the profane. Through words and melody, he has chronicled the emotional landscape of an entire era. An artist beyond time. What makes Bob Dylan truly extraordinary is his refusal to be defined by any single era, genre, or ideology. He has reinvented himself countless times as a folk prophet, a rock poet, a country crooner, a gospel believer, and a blues storyteller. Yet through all these transformations, he has remained unmistakably himself. Dylan once said, "He not busy being born is busy dying." That philosophy of constant rebirth has guided his entire career. At every stage, he has challenged his audience, and himself, to embrace change and seek truth in art. Conclusion. The eternal songwriter Bob Dylan's legacy is more than a collection of songs. It is a philosophy of artistic independence and human experience. His words continue to resonate because they speak to universal emotions: hope, loss, love, faith, and rebellion. From the protests of the 1960s to the digital age of the 21st century, Dylan's music has remained timeless. He stands as a living reminder that art can both mirror the times and transcend them. In the end, Bob Dylan is not merely an icon, he is a phenomenon. A poet with a guitar, a troubadour of truth, and an eternal voice for those searching for meaning in a world of constant change. A journey through the decades. The 1960s, revolution and reinvention. The 1960s were the decade that defined Bob Dylan, and one that he helped define. His arrival in New York in 1961 marked the beginning of a new era in American music. With his second album, The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, 1963, he emerged as the voice of conscience for a generation questioning authority, inequality, and war. Songs like Masters of War, Blowin' in the Wind, and The Times They Are A-Chongin' became rallying cries for the civil rights and anti-war movements. But Dylan was never content to remain in one place artistically. By 1965, he traded his acoustic guitar for an electric one, producing Bringing It All Back Home, Highway 61, Revisited, and Blonde on Blonde in quick succession, a trio of albums that transformed popular music forever. Like a Rolling Stone, with its raw emotion and literary depth, became one of the greatest songs ever recorded. Dylan's lyrics of this era blurred the lines between poetry, philosophy, and rock and roll. His performances were intense, unpredictable, and magnetic, a man wrestling with fame, art, and identity all at once. The 1970s, introspection and mastery after a near-fatal motorcycle accident in 1966. Dylan retreated from the spotlight for several years, recording quietly with the band. This period produced the Basement Tapes, a collection of earthy, soulful songs that influenced the emerging Americana sound. The 1970s saw Dylan exploring new emotional depths. Blood on the Tracks, 1975, is often hailed as his masterpiece, an album of heartbreak, reflection, and redemption. Critics and fans alike saw it as Dylan's most personal work, though he often denied its autobiographical roots. The same decade brought Desire, 1976. Featuring the classic Hurricane, a protest song about boxer Reuben "Hurricane" Carter's wrongful imprisonment. Dylan also toured with an all-star ensemble known as the Rolling Thunder Revue, blending music, poetry, and theater into a traveling celebration of artistic freedom. The 1980s, reinvention and renewal. The 1980s were a turbulent period for Dylan, marked by creative experimentation and spiritual searching. His Christian-themed albums, Slow Train Coming, 1979, Saved, 1980, and Shot of Love, 1981, divided fans but showcased his deep faith and moral conviction. Later in the decade, he returned to form with Infidels, 1983, and Oh Mercy, 1989. Collaborating with renowned producers like Mark Knopfler and Daniel Lanois. These albums proved that Dylan could still craft haunting, powerful songs that reflected the complexities of modern life. The 1990s, a resurgence of spirit. By the 1990s, Dylan had re-emerged as a legend whose influence stretched across generations. Time Out of Mind, 1997, became one of his most celebrated later works, winning the Grammy Award for Album of the Year. Its themes of mortality, longing, and resilience spoke to listeners of all ages, reaffirming Dylan's role as a timeless storyteller. His live performances during this decade took on new resonance, raw, soulful, and unpredictable, as if every night were a reinvention of his musical identity. The 2000s. The storyteller returns in the new millennium. Dylan embraced his role as an elder statesman of American music. Albums like Love and Theft, 2001, and Modern Times, 2006, showcased his deep love for early blues, folk, and swing. These works were both nostalgic and fresh, filled with wit, wisdom, and world-weary humor. In 2004, he published his memoir Chronicles, Volume 1, a lyrical and revealing glimpse into his life and creative process. The book received critical acclaim and revealed a reflective, thoughtful side of Dylan that few had seen before. The 2010s and beyond, the Nobel Poet of Song in the 2010s. Dylan continued to defy expectations. He recorded a series of albums interpreting songs from the Great American Songbook, reimagining classics by Frank Sinatra and others with haunting beauty. These albums, including Shadows in the Night, 2015, showcased his ability to breathe new life into timeless material. Then came his most surprising honor, in 2016, the Nobel Prize in Literature. The award recognized not just his lyrics, but his profound contribution to language and art. Dylan's acceptance speech reflected his deep respect for the storytelling tradition, from Homer to the blues, and affirmed his place among the greatest poets of modern times. His 2020 release, Rough and Rowdy Ways, proved that his creative fire still burned brightly. Songs like Murder Most Foul, a 17-minute meditation on the assassination of John F. Kennedy and America's Lost Innocence, showed that Dylan, even in his late 70s, remained as relevant and visionary as ever. The philosopher of song at the heart of Bob Dylan's genius is his understanding of the power of words. His lyrics explore every corner of the human condition, love and betrayal, faith and doubt, war and peace, life and death. He once said, "A song is anything that can walk by itself." His songs do exactly that. They live, breathe, and evolve with every performance. Dylan's ability to blend the personal with the universal makes his art timeless. He does not simply write about events, he transforms them into myth, history, and poetry. A living legend today, Bob Dylan remains an active and enigmatic figure. He rarely gives interviews, preferring solitude and creation over celebrity. Yet his presence looms large in every corner of music and literature. His songs are studied, performed, and celebrated by people who were not even born when he first strummed his guitar in a New York cafe. More than 60 years after his debut, Dylan continues to inspire artists and audiences alike to question, to dream, and to think. His journey, from a young troubadour with a harmonica to a Nobel laureate, stands as one of the greatest artistic odysseys of all time. Conclusion. The endless song. Bob Dylan is not simply a musician, he is a mirror of the times. Through his songs, we hear the heartbeat of the 20th and 21st centuries, their chaos, beauty, and longing. His art reminds us that music can be a tool for change, a refuge for the soul, and a testament to the enduring power of words. In every era, Dylan has remained both a mystery and a beacon. His legacy will never fade, because Bob Dylan is not just part of history, he is history, forever singing the truth of the human spirit. The songs that changed the world. Bob Dylan's influence can be traced through the songs that shaped generations, pieces of art that go beyond melody and rhyme to capture the conscience of their time. Each song he wrote tells a story, offers a truth, or asks a question that remains as relevant today as when it was first sung. Below are some of his most defining works and the meanings behind them. Blowin' in the Wind, 1963. Perhaps Dylan's most famous anthem, Blowin' in the Wind, poses timeless questions about freedom, peace, and human rights. With lines like, "How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man?" the song became a universal call for equality during the civil rights movement. It was simple yet profound, expressing frustration with humanity's refusal to learn from its past. The answer, Dylan suggests, is not hidden, it's blowing in the wind, right in front of us, if only we'd listen. The Times They Are A-Changin', 1964. This song became the anthem of a generation standing at the crossroads of cultural and political transformation. Its verses are a warning to leaders, parents, and skeptics. You better start swimmin' or you'll sink like a stone. Dylan captured the restless energy of the 1960s, a time of civil rights marches, anti-war protests, and generational rebellion. More than 60 years later, the song still feels prophetic, echoing in every era of upheaval and reform. A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall, 1963, written during the Cuban Missile Crisis. This apocalyptic song reads like a surreal poem about destruction and hope. Each verse paints haunting images, a child dead in the gutter, guns and poison, crying newborns, metaphors for a world on the brink of disaster. Yet beneath the despair is resilience, the belief that truth-tellers will rise to sing even as hard rain falls. It's Dylan's declaration that art can bear witness to humanity's darkest hours. Like a Rolling Stone, 1965, this 6-minute masterpiece changed everything. With its snarling vocals, cryptic lyrics, and explosive energy, Like a Rolling Stone redefined what a rock song could be. It tells the story of a woman who has fallen from privilege to loneliness. But it's also about freedom, the moment when everything you thought you knew is stripped away, and you face the world as it is. Critics called it the greatest song ever written. Rolling Stone magazine ranked it #1 on its 500 greatest songs of all time. For Dylan, it marked a creative rebirth, the moment he truly became the poet of rock and roll. Mr. Tambourine Man, 1965. On the surface, Mr. Tambourine Man is a whimsical song about music and imagination, but its deeper layers explore creativity, transcendence, and the search for meaning. The Tambourine Man could represent art itself, a mysterious figure leading the listener into dreams and visions that blur the line between reality and illusion. The song became a cornerstone of the psychedelic era and remains one of Dylan's most lyrical and enigmatic creations. Tangled Up in Blue, 1975, from Blood on the Tracks. This song is Dylan's masterpiece of storytelling, a nonlinear narrative about love, memory, and the passage of time. The lyrics shift between first and third person, past and present, suggesting that memory itself is fluid. Each verse offers a glimpse into a lost love and the emotional chaos that follows. It's a deeply human song, reflective, painful, and endlessly relatable. Many critics consider it one of the finest examples of narrative songwriting in modern music. Hurricane, 1975. This powerful protest song tells the true story of Reuben "Hurricane" Carter, a black boxer wrongfully imprisoned for murder. Dylan's fiery lyrics and passionate delivery transformed the song into a rallying cry against racial injustice. Lines like, "Here comes the story of the hurricane," sound like the opening of a novel, urgent, vivid, and righteous. The song not only brought attention to Carter's case but also reaffirmed Dylan's role as an artist unafraid to confront injustice through music. Knockin' on Heaven's Door, 1973, written for the film Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, this song transcended its cinematic origins to become one of Dylan's most covered works. With just a few verses, it captures the inevitability of death and the quiet dignity of acceptance. Its simplicity and emotion have made it universal, sung at funerals, protests, and moments of reflection across the world. Shelter from the Storm, 1975, another classic from Blood on the Tracks, this song mixes spiritual imagery and personal longing. It's about love as salvation, the idea that human connection can provide refuge from life's chaos. Dylan's voice carries both gratitude and regret, making it one of his most hauntingly beautiful compositions. Murder Most Foul, 2020, in his later years, Dylan returned with this epic, 17-minute meditation on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and, by extension, the loss of America's innocence. The song weaves together decades of cultural references, from jazz and rock to literature and politics, forming a vast tapestry of memory and mourning. It's not just a history lesson, but a requiem for the 20th century itself, showing that Dylan, even at nearly 80, could still capture the soul of a nation through song. Dylan's songwriting legacy. Dylan's songwriting transcends categories. He draws from folk traditions, blues rhythms, biblical imagery, and beat poetry to create something uniquely his own. His songs are not meant to be solved like puzzles but felt, contemplated, and lived with. He once said, "I consider myself a poet first and a musician second." Indeed, his lyrics often read like literature, layered with symbolism, ambiguity, and emotion. Dylan's genius lies in his ability to say what others could not, to turn private confusion into public revelation. Whether he was singing about war, love, or spiritual awakening, he gave voice to the unspoken truths of human existence. The man behind the myth. For all his fame, Bob Dylan remains one of the most mysterious figures in popular culture. He has reinvented himself so many times that even his closest observers struggle to define him. He is at once the protest singer, the poet, the recluse, the rocker, and the elder sage, and none of these labels fully contain him. He rarely looks back, and he avoids nostalgia. As he once told an interviewer, "I'm not nostalgic for anything. I'm just here." This philosophy, always moving forward, is what keeps him eternally relevant. Even now, his concerts continue to surprise audiences. He changes melodies, rewrites verses, and rearranges classics until they sound new again. For Dylan, art is never finished. It is alive, constantly transforming, just like life itself. Final thoughts. The voice that never fades. Bob Dylan's career is not just a timeline of music, it's a journey through the soul of modern history. His songs have given words to movements, solace to the lost, and inspiration to artists across every generation. More than 60 years after his debut, Dylan continues to embody what it means to be a true artist: restless, fearless, and endlessly curious. He has proven that music can be poetry, poetry can be truth, and truth can change the world. In the end, Bob Dylan remains, as he has always been, a traveler on the road, a voice in the wind, and the eternal bard of our times. His song is still being sung, and it always will be. His 2020 release, Rough and Rowdy Ways, proved that his creative fire still burned brightly. Songs like Murder Most Foul, a 17-minute meditation on the assassination of John F. Kennedy and America's Lost Innocence, showed that Dylan, even in his late 70s, remained as relevant and visionary as ever. The philosopher of song at the heart of Bob Dylan's genius is his understanding of the power of words. His lyrics explore every corner of the human condition: love and betrayal, faith and doubt, war and peace, life and death. He once said, "A song is anything that can walk by itself." His songs do exactly that. They live, breathe, and evolve with every performance. Dylan's ability to blend the personal with the universal makes his art timeless. He does not simply write about events, he transforms them into myth, history, and poetry. A living legend today, Bob Dylan remains an active and enigmatic figure. He rarely gives interviews, preferring solitude and creation over celebrity. Yet his presence looms large in every corner of music and literature. His songs are studied, performed, and celebrated by people who were not even born when he first strummed his guitar in a New York cafe. More than 60 years after his debut, Dylan continues to inspire artists and audiences alike to question, to dream, and to think. His journey, from a young troubadour with a harmonica to a Nobel laureate, stands as one of the greatest artistic odysseys of all time. Conclusion. The endless song. Bob Dylan is not simply a musician, he is a mirror of the times. Through his songs, we hear the heartbeat of the 20th and 21st centuries, their chaos, beauty, and longing. His art reminds us that music can be a tool for change, a refuge for the soul, and a testament to the enduring power of words. In every era, Dylan has remained both a mystery and a beacon. His legacy will never fade, because Bob Dylan is not just part of history, he is history, forever singing the truth of the human spirit. The songs that changed the world. Bob Dylan's influence can be traced through the songs that shaped generations, pieces of art that go beyond melody and rhyme to capture the conscience of their time. Each song he wrote tells a story, offers a truth, or asks a question that remains as relevant today as when it was first sung. Below are some of his most defining works and the meanings behind them. Blowin' in the Wind, 1963, perhaps Dylan's most famous anthem, Blowin' in the Wind, poses timeless questions about freedom, peace, and human rights. With lines like, "How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man?" the song became a universal call for equality during the civil rights movement. It was simple yet profound, expressing frustration with humanity's refusal to learn from its past. The answer, Dylan suggests, is not hidden, it's blowing in the wind, right in front of us, if only we'd listen. The Times They Are a Changin, 1964. This song became the anthem of a generation standing at the crossroads of cultural and political transformation. Its verses are a warning to leaders, parents, and skeptics. You better start swimmin' or you'll sink like a stone. Dylan captured the restless energy of the 1960s, a time of civil rights marches, anti-war protests, and generational rebellion. More than 60 years later, the song still feels prophetic, echoing in every era of upheaval and reform. A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall, 1963, written during the Cuban Missile Crisis. This apocalyptic song reads like a surreal poem about destruction and hope. Each verse paints haunting images: a child dead in the gutter, guns and poison, crying newborns, metaphors for a world on the brink of disaster. Yet beneath the despair is resilience, the belief that truth-tellers will rise to sing even as hard rain falls. It's Dylan's declaration that art can bear witness.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.